All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. We are trauma bonding with movies. I'm Eric.
I'm Georgia.
GenX Dad.
I'm Gen Z.
We have been working our way through The Last of Us, Season 2. Mm-hmm. Like our episode that we talked about with Andor, the same thing happened with our audio of our review and reaction to Episode 5. Mm-hmm. Where the audio didn't work. What's happening with Dina and Ellie? So we're just going to spend a few minutes here before we get into episode 6 to kind of recap on our thoughts on episode 5.
Yep.
Which was, in my opinion, a bit of a cluster. Dina is very much of a planner. She triangulates the CBs, or the radios, and she gets a map, and she knows what's going on. And Ellie, since she is very balls to the wall kind of girl, where that doesn't make any sense, but she just feels invulnerable since she's immune, I think.
Yeah. And
she just has this attitude of like, she doesn't give it up. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go and do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm so, after Abby, I want to kill her and everybody associated with her. Mm-hmm. So she, in my opinion, makes some foolish decisions getting herself into trouble.
Yeah. As much as, like, Ellie and Dina's relationship is a little bit different in the show, and as much as, like, they're slightly, like,
versus
different.
The game.
Yeah, versus the game.
Yeah.
The show communicates the same thing that the game does about their relationship, which is it's immature, and neither of them are ready to be in it, and Ellie is incredibly reckless with their relationship.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and I think it really
she has a glimpse of, like, we shouldn't do this because you're pregnant, and...
Yeah.
And so she has the glimpses of maturity, but then they're both like, no,
it's clouded by this, like, desire for revenge.
Yeah.
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 Well, out of the episode, what were, like, some of the big cluster that stood out to you?
The whole train, I'm so lost on what episodes, but was the train episode sequence? Mm-mm. That was episode 4, okay.
No, this was
episode
the stalker
5, they were
one.
Inside...
It was like some sort of factory, and there were stalkers everywhere.
Oh, the stalkers.
Which was...
Those are creepy ass.
Terrifying.
And then Tommy came in. No, not Tommy. Jesse came in and rescued them. But then cluster when they were going through the park, trying to get away from the wolves, and then they run into the Scars who were torturing a wolf soldier. And then...
Yeah. Executed him.
Executed this guy. And then Dina gets shot by an arrow. And it's just
Which I thought was a very clever way of taking her out of the mission.
Yeah.
Because I think I said this when we were recording the episode at the time, but in the game, she's just too sick with morning sickness to go on.
Oh, right.
But in the show, she just kind of gets sick when she sees dead bodies, which is not great when you're hunting people down in a war zone. So the arrow to the leg was a very clever way of being like, she's kind of done. She's got to rest.
It's so Skyrim. Arrow to the leg.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Gosh. I took an arrow.
You're crossing your wires now.
Oh, dude, that's like... no, that's a deep cut right
well,
there.
And we know that, like, Tommy is somewhere in the city. He and Jesse split up to find them. And so now it's a matter of, like, Ellie finding Abby and Tommy and getting Dina home. Basically.
Yeah. And then another cluster was when Ellie goes down into the lower levels of the hospital, discovers that the pores are airborne, but then goes hog crazy on, was it Dora? No. Nora. Dora the
No, that's Dina.
Goes hog on Nora. And she's just wailing on her. In my mind, she crosses this line of moral ambiguity to just like, I'm going to be a psychopath.
Where is she? No. Yeah.
And like you become the person that you want to kill.
Oh yeah. She and Abby are becoming like one and the same with every step she gets closer to finding Abby.
Yeah.
And
the
parallels
that's a
are
compelling,
throughout.
That's a compelling where it's like, yeah, you and that's a fascinating story of just the moral ambiguity of these characters where you want them to be good, quote unquote.
You want to root for them.
Right. And then you're like, oh, they're doing the same thing that the bad guys are doing.
Yeah.
Which I think we mentioned this in a reaction earlier. There is no good or bad, quote unquote, people in the, at the end of the world. We're all just surviving. And if you are up against me, then you're an enemy. And so it just breaks down all moral code.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I did like the hints that they gave in the episode, like the flashback about the basement, and then you go down to the basement and you find the guy that they're like talking about in the flashback, and he's like, again, because it's an infection and it's not like a zombie thing, he's still alive and just like has become this smoke machine for the cordyceps. With his body, which is crazy.
At least Park. I can't remember his name, but Park.
Leon Park. Or Leon Park, something like that. L Park.
Yeah, he's alive, getting wrapped around the cordyceps. And he's just like, he's a smoke machine for the cordyceps. That's a great description.
Which was such a cool visual, too. Like, the set that they probably had to make for that was awesome.
So yeah. It's one of the things that I find interesting about this show and shows like other zombie shows. Oh my gosh, my brain. What are the other zombie shows that?
Like Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yeah, that's
that was a huge one. That was like the most watched show around the whole world for a time.
Right. The Walking Dead and this show and other zombie 28 Days, it kind of gives you this whole thing of like, it gives you license to beat the crap out of people who are against you or not. There's no right or wrong. It's just survival. And eventually the zombies or the cordyceps, they become background noise to a certain degree to the drama that's happening with the people who are humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fascinating premise to the whole idea because the horrors aren't the horrors anymore.
It's what you do to avoid the horrors or escape the horrors.
Right. Or to be able to survive the horrors, you become a horror unto yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's fascinating.
It's psychologically interesting. Just
when you can see it with like how the wolves are like doing this horrific like wiping out of the Seraphites and like leaving their bodies to burn in the streets. And then the Seraphites are executing wolves in this really like cultish, grotesque, brutal manner.
Religious cultish thing.
Yeah, and it's like
so crazy.
It's what's interesting about the Last of Us story is there's this small story of like Abby versus Ellie, and then this larger environment of like the wolves versus the Seraphites, and essentially it's two stories that are the same on a different scale.
Yeah.
It's all about like, well, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you back forever.
Yeah.
And all it does is just kill people.
Yeah.
Who don't necessarily deserve it. Or they do deserve it, but it's just still scarring and bloodying. I did think it was interesting that the way they set up the episode, Ellie is torturing Nora, and then it cuts to a flashback of her and Joel before she lost her innocence. And like that side by side was like very jarring. Yeah. But really cool.
Yeah, it is a fascinating thing where she's talking about or just revealing her life before the revenge quest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, her innocence.
Yeah. And I have like complaints about the show, but it's mostly because I have like a framework to work within, like because of the game. Yeah. like, Ellie's character, I feel, in the show is more childish and annoying and less, like, focused on the revenge than Ellie in the game, which provides a different dynamic in the show, like with her relationship with Dina and stuff like that. But examples would be, like, her being all, like, jokey with Dina about the baby instead of realizing, like, the seriousness of, like, she's pregnant and she's with you on this mission.
Yeah.
Or her and Dina getting themselves into a really horrific situation with the stalkers and having to be rescued by Jesse. And it's just Dina is... It's almost as if Ellie is being guided by chance and by her comrades into this revenge rather than spearheading the revenge herself. In the game, she is so much more laser focused on finding and killing Abby. In the show, it seems like she's kind of stumbling into it. So I'm interested to see how the next 2 episodes go, because of course it's like, it's not over. I don't know the full scope, but I did hear that they're doing 4 seasons, not 3 seasons.
Holy cow.
And that just feels like it's going to drag out the last half of the story that they want to tell.
They got to make the money.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I think they're going to lose with how I know where they're going to end this show.
Yeah.
The spot that they're going to end it on, for them to then wait 2 years to release the next season, they're going to lose half their viewership because the people who want to know what happens are just going to go play the game. And then they won't need to watch the show.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and
but
like where the viewership will go.
Games. They watch the shows.
You can also go on YouTube and there's an 8-hour video that just shows you the whole game and all its cutscenes.
Yeah.
And you can just watch that in bits. But
yeah.
We'll see. I think this next episode will be really good because it's supposedly all the flashbacks, which will be really, really awesome. Give some more context to Ellie and Joel's relationship and how it ended up being where it was. And then the finale.
Cool.
So it'll be exciting.
Yeah. All right. Ready to go on number 6?
Yeah.
Sweet. So
wow.
We'll move on to episode 6. Thanks for all your follows and likes, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you with episode 6.